So I gotta tell you, the pink prophet has arrived. And it's not me. Although I'm going to tell you, to get me to be wearing something as bright pink as I am wearing right now has to be something pretty good. So if you've heard anything lately, you probably have heard that there's this movie out. And there's a couple movies out. They're referring it to as Barbieheimer. There's Barbie and Oppenheimer, and they are both just blowing the doors off of expectations. But Barbie, the pink prophet, has truly surpassed all expectations. By Monday, this movie will probably have broken the $1 billion mark. As of already? Okay, I was looking this morning. As of yesterday, it was $916 million. This is the very first movie directed by a woman to have achieved this, by the way, and it deserves every cent of it. Amen? But like some of you or many of you, you probably are thinking, what on earth? What on earth is pulling all of these people, men as well as women, in to see it, and many even wearing pink, to see it? You know, some people have been saying that it's, kind of demonic, and the religious right are like completely losing their minds over it. Now, I admit, I went because I have a teen, and they wanted to go see it. And, me being the good mom that I am, and, I missed going to go see the remake of Ariel. I'm like, okay, we're there. And I have to say there was a little nostalgia on my part, and I'm thinking, okay, what is it that what can they do with this movie? So, I went. I did not wear pink, to which I was chastised. I did not make that mistake the second time I went. Yes, I went twice to see this movie in 2 weeks. All right? That's telling you something. You have to also understand, not only do I usually not wear pink, I am so cheap, I wait till everything comes out on Netflix, or Hulu. I don't go to the movie theaters. But I went. And so, as I said, there was this nostalgic draw to it. This is the doll we all love to hate. This is the doll that also so many of us couldn't wait to get our hands on when we were kids, and especially a lot of our young gay men also. True that? Okay, let's be honest. This doll was created for little girls to be able to see themselves as anything that they could dream themselves to be, not just a mom. But they could see themselves as an astronaut, an executive, an airline pilot, a president, a doctor, and I'm certain, yes, probably a Starbucks barista. But the one thing, by the way, they haven't yet done is Barbie as a clergy person.
Yes, they have.
They have?
Checking online yesterday, they got like
then they just
4 or 5 different denominations. Outfits.
Okay, then they just came out. Okay, good. This doll, for many of us, was also our confidant. And for others of us, she acted out our pain as well as our dreams. Not always just our hopes and things and our visions. This doll we played with, who got more makeovers and haircuts and makeup, so that many actually turned out to really look like weird Barbie. You have to see the movie. Kate McKinnon is amazing on that. I just want you to imagine that. But what on earth could a movie about this piece of plastic have to say to us? Lots is exactly right. I saw this movie, and I was dumbfounded. I have done more reading about and watching about Mattel as a corporation and about all of the reflections that have been written on this movie. I Googled last week the Gospel According to Barbie because I was being all full of myself after I saw it the first week and said, I'm going to preach on the Gospel According to Barbie next week. Right? And I guess I'm in good company because the dean of the cathedral in San Francisco last week preached the Gospel According to Barbie. Okay? So you just don't have a renegade pastor. I guess I'm in the groove. But yes, you do. I do want to put a plug in. As soon as I saw the movie for the first time, I came home and Googled it on Hulu, I guess, searched on Hulu, and there is an amazing documentary on Hulu called Tiny Shoulder. It's something, I don't have it memorized. Look at my Facebook feed, you'll find it. But it's the Tiny Shoulders re-look at Barbie, something to that effect. To put this into perspective, things that we don't realize, this doll was created by a mom, Ruth Handler, who was tired of seeing all the little girls up until that point in 1959. The only tangible doll that they had to play with were babies, so that you could learn to grow up to how to be a good mother, because that was the only role that was given to women. And so then she saw her daughter, remember the cutout dolls? I loved those. You know, the paper dolls, remember those? Yeah? Yeah, we're dating ourselves, yeah. And then those were of women. And she saw her daughter like looking into the future, like, oh, I don't have to just be a mom. I can be a this or I can be a that. So she went to her husband and was like, and the business partner, we've got to create a doll with breasts. And they were like, oh, no. In their puritanical mindset, nobody is going to buy a doll that looks like a real woman. Some of you have heard, and it is true, is she ended up finally getting the idea, the prototype for the first Barbie from a German doll in the 1950s that was being sold in the liquor stores and the smoke shops. And she was, well, let's just say the little hussy that was created from a cartoon character. And she said, this. Well, that's how come Barbie got the shape that she did originally. But I digress. But the idea that she wanted to have something for little girls to be able to see themselves into reality as more than just moms was something that is revolutionary for just about every one of us who's sitting here in this room. And so it is that she was created. By the way, that doll, who we all love to hate, put Mattel on the map. Just saying. So, I digress. Coming back. So from the opening scene of this movie, I felt like I was in a pinball machine. I was like, what am I seeing? What am I hearing? My mind was just going bonkers. The writing is brilliant, and the topics brought out tears in me. Laughter, silence, fear, sadness, deep joy, and hope. Only partway through, I felt as if I was watching a rewrite of the Bible. And at that moment, I stopped breathing. Because you see, it starts as this, fictional, here we are in the Garden of Eden, a la Barbie Land, where there is every shade of pink that you could imagine. Here is a side note. When they made the sets for Barbie, the company that they were getting the paint from ran out of pink paint. I told you, I've been obsessed with this week. Because you see, here in the perfect world, Barbie Land, Barbie woke up every morning. And it was a perfect day. Just like every other day. Until it wasn't. And then she had to leave. And so it was that she left, and here she was she had to go into the real world to find out what happened and to repair the tear in between Barbie land and the real world. You all are sitting here going, I came to church to hear this today. What? But here she was in her little plastic pink car, and up from the back pops up the sidekick, the accessory called Ken. Now, I want you to imagine, well, for those who identify as women, or you grew up socialized as a girl, you know that there was, we're not exactly in the center of power. And here is this world where the president was an African-American woman, where the Supreme Court was all women. I went, oh my God. Where the doctors and the lawyers and the ice cream vendors were all women. And so there it is. And Ken, Ken had the perfect day when Barbie acknowledged his presence. Yeah, right. And so he jumped in the car and tagged along with her. It was then, as they got into the real world, a la Venice Beach, the real world. And I know I'm giving you all of these spoilers, but you still have to see it. Anyway, so it was then when my giddy joy started to turn into, oh my goodness, because it was slapped right next to reality. Because, see, as they entered Venice Beach, Barbie no longer was the respected center of attention, but she was oogled, sexualized, and all of those things that people who walk in the world as a woman, I'm certain you have heard more than once. And Ken was all of a sudden respected and called sir. And she said these words, Barbie did, I feel kind of ill at ease. I'm conscious, but it's myself that I'm conscious of. She became self-conscious and not comfortable. And then as it moves on, she's trying to find the girl who had played with her, the one who started to have different thoughts and had kind of started the tear, and she thought it was this tween named Sasha. She found her at school, and in middle school, and she's dressed in this like pink Barbie outfit. Hi! And Sasha's going, who are you? I'm Barbie. And she's like, hey, did you not take your medication today? And Sasha very correctly said, you've been making women feel bad about themselves since you were invented. And all of a sudden, Barbie, who had just think of her as Eve in the garden, all of a sudden was just confused and very hurt. She says Barbie is so much more than that, and she didn't get it. And thus far, you can hear it, can't you? The Garden of Eden. To see the Garden of Eden in a new light of what it must have been like to leave the Garden of Eden, and when Adam and Eve left, and this time Barbie and Ken, all of a sudden the sins of the world, if you will, started to surround her. All of a sudden she had self-doubt. She was self-conscious. She felt shame and embarrassment, unworthiness, separation, despair, sadness, and fear. And isn't that what happened when we left the Garden of Eden? That all of these things and more started to surround all of us and to just permeate into our culture. And then, of course, added on to that, Mr. Ken, he just was like, woo, yay, I'm the man. And the story unpacked toxic masculinity, patriarchy, and possession and the like. Those were some threads, but the one that really stood out for me was the thread that ran through the movie, whether it was the dolls, Barbie or Ken, or Alan, by the way. Anybody remember Alan? Yeah. As well as the humans in the story. Of the unrelenting, nagging feeling of not feeling good enough. Can anybody relate to that? Has anybody ever in their life ever felt, I'm not good enough? And really, isn't that not feeling good enough about ourselves really what ends up pushing a lot of people to bully other people? Because if I don't feel good, I'm going to make sure you don't feel good, right? I guarantee we've all experienced it. That undergirds the separation, the racism, the sexism, the misogyny that takes place in our society. And we can never live up to the ideal of what our Creator had in mind for us. Because I believe that when God created Adam and Eve, it was their intent for us to live a life of joy, of awe and wonder, of community, of being a good neighbor. And instead, what did we do to it? We took a good thing and turned it bad. Ruth Handler, when she created Barbie, did not have in mind that this visionary doll that she was having created so that the little girls could see themselves as more. Do you know that there was astronaut Barbie in 1962, and female astronaut did not go into space until 1984? She saw into, as God sees into us, all of the possibilities that are laid forth before us. But instead, the good thing goes bad, just as I believe our faith has gone bad. Right? How we've taken the message of Jesus and turned it inside out, so that I believe that if Jesus himself walked the earth, whether it's in Venice or Montana, he wouldn't recognize it. And so it is, I was watching this show, I just wanted to laugh and escape, but yet, of course, here I am writing a sermon in my mind 5 times about what I am seeing. How did we go from the ideals of all of the possibilities to becoming weird Barbies in the world? When did we forget we were created to be a direct reflection of the divine? And when did we start feeling bad about ourselves? When did we start feeling like that rock that was set aside, that was discarded, and not being able to be put as the foundation of the church? Same people who are ridiculing this movie are saying that many people in this room and beyond are not worthy enough to be the foundation of the church. Well, honey, weird Barbies get their way. Do you know that in all of this, everything that's happening in the world today, there's one rock that was put aside that would never have been considered as a foundation of the church. Do you know that the #1 Christian song on Apple iTunes is by Flamey Grant, a drag queen, called Good Day? And I am telling you the truth, and it's a beautiful song, by the way. Weird Barbies can win. So these folks went on this number of incredibly poignant moments, and then America Ferrera spoke up near the end, when Barbie was realizing who she had become. Just as I'm certain how Jesus must have felt or must feel or let me rephrase that, how God must have felt looking and seeing Jesus' life in the world and seeing people weren't listening to him. How God must have felt, man. How when all of the saints, all of the prophets before Jesus were sent to the earth, and as they have been sent since then, and how they've been discounted and ignored. And so it was, Barbie was like, "Rrr," and wanted to give up. But America Ferrera, the mother of the child, the middle schooler, who, by the way, happened to be the person who had been playing with the stereotypical Barbie, she says, "It is literally impossible to be a woman. You are so beautiful and you are so smart, and it kills me that you don't think you're good enough. Like we have to always be extraordinary, but somehow we're always doing it wrong. You have to be thin, but not too thin. You can never say you want to be thin. You have to say you want to be healthy, but also you have to be thin. You have to have money, but you can't ask for money because that's too crass. You have to be a boss, but you can't be mean. You have to lead, but you can't squash other people's ideas. You're supposed to love being a mother, but don't talk about your kids so much. You have to be a career woman, but also always looking out for other people. You have to answer for men's bad behavior. Sorry, guys, but it's true. You have to answer for men's bad behavior, which is insane, but if you point that out, you're accused of complaining. You're supposed to stay pretty for men, but not so pretty that you tempt them too much, or that you threaten other women because you're supposed to be a part of the sisterhood. But always stand out and always be grateful, but never forget that the system is rigged. To find a way to acknowledge that, but you also have to always be grateful. You have to never get old, never be rude, never show off, never be selfish, never fall down, never fall, never fail, never show fear, never get out of line. It's too hard, it's too contradictory, and nobody gives you a medal or says thank you. And it turns out, in fact, that not only are you doing everything wrong, but also everything is your fault. I'm just so tired of watching myself and every single other woman tie herself into knots so that people will like us. And if all of that is true for a doll just representing woman, then I don't even know. When I heard those words, I stopped breathing and I started crying. Because I had never heard something put so succinctly. And in a pink kids movie? And I thought to myself, oh my God, how did they get away with that? But I'm telling you what, if $1 billion has been spent on this movie, people need to hear this. And they not only need to hear this, but they need to do as the daughter did, which is when Barbie wanted to give up, the tween said, girl, no, you're not. No, you will not give up. Just as many of us have felt like we are the stones that have been thrown aside and no longer a part of a church or a community or a faith or of God, girl. We are. And so it was that she got up and ended up, they came up with this great scheme. I won't go into that because that's really a spoiler. But the thing that for me that resonated is for us as people of faith, we too must get up. We too must get up, and because our beautifully, fabulously, all shapes and sizes Barbie land has broken down into something that nobody wants to live in anymore. Now, granted, I do not want to live in a place with so much pink. But I do want to be able to wake up and say, this is a good day. This is going to be a good day. And I'm a part of it. And you're a part of it. We're all a part of being able to create heaven here on earth again. The popularity of this movie tells me that the message that we come together every week to share and to remember, to break bread about, to pray for one another, to share our gratitudes with each other, to be imperfectly perfect, to be weird, to be strong, to be weak is needed, and so are we. So are we. As the story came to a close, things changed for everybody. But they changed in a way so that the accessories Kens realized that they didn't have to be a part of Barbie and Ken, or Ken and Steve, or Ken and Alan, right? Or Ken and Keith's. Excuse me. Ken and Keith's. And Barbie and Midge didn't have to be Barbie and Midge or Barbie and Ken. They just had to be who they were themselves. And there's I'll save it for the end, the realization that we are all beautiful and fabulous and pink and green and blue and colors of the rainbow, all in our own self. Worthy of God's love, worthy of creating a world where our little children will want to play in, and where our seniors will look down on us and say, good job. That we have the ability to do so. In the end, those who were the left outs, the forgotten, the outcasts, are the very ones who reminded us what it's all about. Weird Barbie, she knew the way. America Ferrera, she spoke the truth. Just like the disciples, women and men, reminded us throughout Scripture. And in real life, if you want to think and wonder about if you belong in the story, in real life, in 2016, there finally came out 4 different shapes of Barbie. Because we all know that there was a woman behind it who followed in the footsteps of people who've been trying for decades, and she wouldn't give up. The vice president of design for Mattel spearheaded the most significant change in the flawed icon when she introduced Curvy Barbie. Curvy Barbie. Okay, Curvy Barbie's a size 6. I am not. I am much larger than that. But she said there was only one other thing she was more passionate about in life than to see this happen. And that's when she and her wife slept on the steps of City Hall waiting for to be able to be one of the first couples to be married in California. Honey, if she had allowed herself to feel as if she was a stone that was not fit to be the foundation of this billion-dollar company, By the way, looking around at the heads, most of the heads of the departments are women and gay men. Go figure. So for you and me today, any of us who have felt unworthy, cast out, or set aside, any of those who are feeling persecuted, laughed at, attacked, I want you to remember this. In the gospel according to Barbie, as well as the gospel according to Jesus, we are reminded, but God chose you to be their people. You are royal priests. You are a holy nation. You are God's special treasure. You are all these things that you can give them in praise. God brought you out of darkness and into the light. You out of the darkness and into the light. Once you were not a people, but now you are a people of God. And as both Barbie and Ken came to realize, every day is a perfect day. And as Ken has brought out into the new phrase, we are all knuff. Amen? Amen. Amen.